A hearty welcome to all our investors, entrepreneurs, and those of you who support growing our statewide entrepreneurial ecosystem and beyond. We truly appreciate your taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us here. This is always a special event, and this year even more so. I'm Marnie LaVigne, Associate Vice President for Economic Development at the University at Buffalo. I will be emceeing the morning's events, and I'm most pleased to have my partner in this year's program, Jeffrey Lawrence, Executive Vice President of Technology for Center for Economic Growth, handling this afternoon's duties. It's my distinct pleasure to be one of many organizers of the 2012 Venture Forum. We're fortunate to have with us today a number of individuals that truly represent the public-private partnership that's making our economic transformation happen. I want to recognize the folks who are coming from our various elected offices throughout the day. Some were here for the breakfast this morning, some here now, and others will be joining us this afternoon. Rob Davidson from Senator Schumer's office, Jeff Sheridan and Peter Snodgrass from Representative Hochul's office, Laura Rott and Adam Locher from Assemblyman Gaberzak's office. And Assemblyman Gaberzak is actually currently conducting a session with some of our folks about policy issues to support entrepreneurship, just a hallway away. Melissa Fratello from Senator Gillibrand's office, Bonnie Kane-Lockwood from Representative Higgins' office, Brenda Mahaffey, Commissioner of Economic Development for the City of Buffalo, Ken Berlinski from Assemblyman Schimminger's office, Mike Johnson, and Frank McAvoy from the Office of the State Comptroller, Thomas DiNapoli. Thank you so much for all of you making the time to join. And if you catch them in the hall, feel free to share thoughts and ideas that you might have for growing the entrepreneurial ecosystem through support from our federal and state government. So I always like to remind everyone, why are we here? Well, we know we would like to see these wonderful companies, the 50 companies in attendance today and the 30 who will be presenting formally, we would love to see you get funded. So doing deals is absolutely a focus of today's program, but also growing our entrepreneurial ecosystem. We know that transforming economies in regions like Buffalo, New York, and upstate altogether requires innovation and entrepreneurship as the driver of a new economy and job growth. That requires technology, capital, and talent. And the good news is we have a great deal of that in the room here today. We are focusing on 4 key high-growth sectors in the high-tech arena, including life sciences, clean tech, advanced manufacturing, and information technology. In fact, this program, as many of you know, has been quite a facilitator of developing new programs and initiatives, one of which you'll be hearing about shortly, known as Innovate New York. Similarly, we have recently culminated planning activities through federal and local funding to create a venture development organization called Launch New York, which will also address the talent and seed capital needs. This year, we were very fortunate that serendipity had a hand in how we planned this event. Typically, annually, there is an event on the other end of the thruway. Our colleagues in Albany at Center for Economic Growth run the Smart Start Unit Tech program, and we pretty much try to figure out how we're not having the program on the same dates and kind of work collaboratively that way. But this year, as serendipity had a hand, we were actually able to do this together in Buffalo. Of course, joining forces was right up our alley because you know we like to go bigger and better every single year. So as any of you who decided to take advantage of the full program already know, we started our day yesterday quite early with the Unitech Open Innovation sessions. Last night, our VIP dinner for entrepreneurs and investors, and the investor breakfast this morning. So I want to first thank all of you who have already made this program a memorable event. We do indeed have a full day of programming. I'm hoping you can stay with us for the entire program. We will be following these opening remarks with our first of our company presenter sessions. Then we will be working into a networking lunch, so we've made sure there's plenty of time for you to all connect. From there, we will have a wonderful keynote addressed by Victor Thorne from Ohio Tech Angels, the largest angel organization in the United States. This afternoon, again, company presenter sessions, and be sure to stay for our ever-popular rapid-fire 1-minute presenters to wrap up today's programming. And a special element that we have because of our partnership with Smart Start Unitech is we actually will have company awards at the end. So this is a new element that we've not done before, and it's something you definitely don't want to miss. As you might be able to tell by looking around the room, we've had a tremendous response this year. Not only do we have all the companies that I've mentioned, but we have been able to attract investors, both angel and venture capital folks, from far and wide. So certainly from New York State, but also from Canada, Massachusetts, Maryland, Ohio, Florida, Pennsylvania, Illinois, and California. We have an even wider audience because once again, we are streaming this program live on the web. I certainly could not be up here today, and we couldn't be enjoying these wonderful surroundings without our sponsors. So please let me recognize the growth stage sponsors, Superior Group, Center for Economic Growth, and University at Buffalo's New York State Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics and Life Sciences. Our startup stage sponsors, NYSTAR, SUNY Research Foundation, Upstate Venture Association of New York, and Watson Bennett, Colligan, and Schechter. Our seed stage sponsors, Buffalo Niagara Enterprise, Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus, Erie County Industrial Development Agency, Hodgson Russ, Phillips Lytle, and the UB Office of Science, Technology Transfer, and Economic Outreach, also known as STORE. Our pre-seed stage sponsors, Blue Highway, Buffalo Angels, National Research Council Canada, Career Builder, Dopkins and Company, Excel Partners, Freed Maxick, Heslin, Rothenberg, Farley and Masidi, HSBC, IMCO Diagnostics, Pam Silverstein, Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Syracuse University, Woods Oviatt Gilman, and the Western New York Venture Association. And indeed, in your program, you've seen that we also have the support from many wonderful sponsors. I would also like to thank our dedicated volunteers, our organizing committee, and the many subcommittees that we've had. Numerous hours have been spent vetting the companies, seeing live presentations, and selecting for you very high quality sessions today. You can find the committee names in your program book, and I certainly would like you to ask for help if you need throughout the day. These folks are here to assist you and make your day a perfect experience. I certainly want to thank our partners in this program development. Without an open mind, we would not have been able to do this collaboration. So Jeffrey Lawrence, Laura Mann, and Elena Dagnes, who have all put in countless hours. Our Center of Excellence team, interns Kevin Westerman, Levon Spates, Natalie Foll, Jessica Rosenberg, and our new commercialization assistant, Jen Geigel, and our organizers par excellence, Renata Bator and Suzanne Chamberlain, with whom many of you spoke about this program. A special note for this year, we do have a gold sticker on the name tags of those individuals who represent companies who are raising funds, so you can easily identify individuals who may be interested in a conversation. I know all of you are very busy and may need to take cell phone calls, so I do encourage you, if you need to do so, please just step into the hall and rejoin us as soon as you're able. Now, I ask that you join me in welcoming our introductory speakers, who are all leaders in their own right in terms of building our innovation-based economy. First, Alexander Cartwright is the University at Buffalo's Vice President for Research and Economic Development and Professor of Electrical Engineering and Adjunct Professor of Physics. Alex wears many, many hats, and among those, faculty, researcher, and patent holder. And in fact, one of the companies presenting here today represents the technology that was very much part of Alex's research work. So with that, please welcome Alexander Cartwright.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank everybody for being here on behalf of the University at Buffalo. It's very interesting that with such a great event, that we're getting to have it in such a great location with such great weather. Everything's come together today, and I hope what that means is that we'll have our companies and our investors and everybody else come together today. I'd like to talk just a couple minutes about what's going on at UB. We have, over the last year, restructured my office to make it the Office of Research and Economic Development, with the specific charge that what we'd like to do is make it easier for people to work with the institution. We want to have the industry partners. We want to be able to connect them with our faculty, with the excellent faculty we have, and we want to be able to help the Western New York region and New York State in terms of economic development. In order to do that, we've actually established the new Associate VP for Economic Development, which Marnie holds, which is really focused around our business development, economic development, and our community engagement and events like this and many others that we'll be seeing. And we also have our store office, which is actually focused on how do you start up companies, how do you, if you want to license any of our IP, all of that is done through our store office and Bob Jenko and his group. So we are taking this seriously. We believe that Buffalo needs some assistance in this, and that the university's role should be in providing such assistance. We have, in fact, many efforts going on inside of the university in terms of high-tech innovation and entrepreneurship. And I wanted to mention that I was so tempted, for those of you who were at the dinner last night, I was very tempted today to show up in jeans and a hoodie. Because I remember that most of my innovation actually took place and continues to take place when I'm actually working in my lab. And quite honestly, we can't work very easily in a suit with lasers. It just doesn't work very well. But what we'd like to emphasize today is that we have here about 30 companies actually associated with the university who are actually participating today. And in fact, we have Graphene Devices, Simulated Surgical, 4Robin, Tonus Therapeutics. All of these are in an excellent position to be helped by such an event. And I hope that today you spend a lot of time getting to know each other and figuring out how we can move Western New York and New York State forward in economic development. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alex. Next up is Stephen Cohen, Deputy Commissioner and Senior Vice President for Community Economic Development with Empire State Development. As many of you know, Steve is leading a seminal effort here in New York State with the Innovate New York Fund, which he will speak to you about. Previous to joining Empire State Development, Stephen was actually with Seedco Financial doing related kinds of economic development and community relations activities. But what's most interesting in his bio that you'll see in the program is he actually was part of a music production company in San Francisco prior to that. So you just never know what you might find prior to living in economic development. Stephen.
Thank you very much, Marnie. It's my great pleasure to be at this event this morning. And, you know, I'd like to also thank the Center for Economic Growth, to Jeff Lawrence and Laura Mann, also to Bright Buffalo Niagara, UB, Superior Group, and all the sponsors, and of course, Marnie LaVigne, who has been working tirelessly on these issues and actually was a major force in helping to get Innovate New York passed. So it's my mission at the agency to support economic development globally and small business development and entrepreneurship. And so Innovate New York is sort of one big new effort to do that and to add another tool to the innovation ecosystem. Many of you are great participants in that ecosystem here in New York State. And frankly, this would not have happened without many of you not just advocating for a seed stage equity fund and some government support of very new high growth companies in the state, but also the evidence that it takes to convince all the stakeholders and all the folks that need to be on board to bring a major new effort into this ecosystem. And so congratulations to all of you also on helping to make Innovate New York happen. So the governor and our agency, which is the primary economic development agency of the state, have a very strong commitment to innovation. and of course our partners in the legislature. We, through NISTAR, which used to be a separate authority, now it's combined into Empire State Development, we support the Centers for Advanced Technology, the Centers of Excellence, the Regional Technology Development Centers, and also a fund that we've operated for many years called the Small Business Technology Investment Fund, where we make venture stage and now some seed stage investments directly through that fund. And many of you know Clayton Besh, who is the managing director of that fund. Clayton, are you here? Yes, in the back, Clayton Besh from our office, who does a great job managing that fund. And so we recognized the need for very early seed stage investment in the state, both to keep companies here, but also as a job creation strategy. We know that small businesses, especially high growth businesses, account for the vast majority of net new jobs coming out of an economic downturn. And so this wasn't just a need sort of in the innovation ecosystem, it's also an economic development strategy for the state. So there were some very, very strong reasons for doing this and for having government step in and do what essentially is do some targeted investments to stimulate additional private companies, to keep new companies in the state and take advantage of what is a very strong research and development and institutions of higher learning infrastructure that exists in the state. And so what is Innovate New York? It is a new seed stage equity capital fund. It is based on an intermediary model. So what we did is we selected investment fund managers from around the state competitively through an RFP process. And just a few weeks ago, we made investments totaling $26.5 million in those funds. Those will leverage many more times that amount in private sector investment in seed stage companies. It's $25 million from the Innovate New York Fund, and that we were fortunate enough to be awarded $55.4 million from U.S. Treasury as part of the Small Business Jobs Act of 2010, and Innovate New York was essentially the primary strategy that we are, where we are using those funds. And so it's $25 million from that, an additional amount of up to $1.5 million from Small Business Technology Investment Fund. You know, we were very pleased with the response to the Innovate New York application. There were many qualified firms that we were unable to fund just because it's still a limited amount of money. But we wanted to make sure that there was geographic distribution around the state and that there was industry distribution around the state, from clean tech to general technology to biotech and so forth. And so we really looked at some very high quality funds with various models. We also didn't want to define the model, and so we selected a number that we think achieves both geographic diversity and industry diversity. So the way this will work is the state will make typical investments into these funds, typically in a sidecar type structure alongside their own funds or other funds that they were able to raise, and also co-investments that they're able to secure on individual deals. There's significant leverage requirement, and it'll operate in sort of a typical fashion. There'll be some support of the operations of the funds, and then those investments will come in, and hopefully over time we will have some return to the state, and we'll be able to do this subsequently in subsequent rounds. So at this point, I'd like to announce, it's already been announced formally, but I believe we have 5 out of the 6 funds here today in Buffalo, which is great. And so I'd like to announce them here. Stonehenge Growth Capital, is Travis Milks here? Great, fantastic. So Stonehenge is one of our statewide funds. So they're going to make investments around the entire state, although they will have a focus on upstate. Excel Partners, I know Teresa is here, Teresa Mazzullo. Great, there's Teresa, another force behind helping make this happen. You know, Excel is a nonprofit fund, very much targeted in sort of the area that we're targeting in terms of seed stage investments. We're so pleased to be working with Excel on this program. Cayuga Ventures and Zach Schulman, Ithaca, right back. Many of you know Zach, of course. Golden Seeds, Tim O'Neill. Fantastic. You know, Golden Seeds is another fund that's focused statewide, and they have an interesting, as many of you probably know, focus on companies that have women in senior leadership positions. Offered a nice complement to all the other funds, and allowed us to offer sort of a breadth of strategies there. SCP Buffalo Incubator, Mark Zagaria. Mark, are you here? Great, fantastic. So that's focused here in Buffalo. It's a combination of collaboration of Seed Capital Partners and SoftBank. And then finally, Canrock Ventures, which is focused exclusively on Long Island, could not make it here today. But we're very thrilled to be working with those funds. Those funds will be sort of available to meet with you. You know, co-investment and working collaboratively is so important. So we encourage you to make connections to our Innovate New York funds at the networking lunch and maybe at the reception here today. Very pleased to be making this significant step to innovation in New York State. We recognize this is capital. It's not the entire picture. So we are also working on bringing technical assistance in the incubators. You know, we're speaking again at the Incubator Association meeting tomorrow to bring all the elements of the innovation ecosystem to work collaboratively with the capital to strengthen small businesses and high growth early seed stage companies here in New York State. And we're proud to be launching this new fund as an effort to do that. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Stephen, and I appreciate your mentioning being around later. I'm sure many folks would like to talk to Steve and many of the fund managers that you were being introduced to. So this afternoon, once we finish here formally, we will be going to the Buffalo Yacht Club for an informal and relaxing reception. So certainly welcome you to join us, but that's an opportunity to connect with these folks. And as if we didn't have enough going on, we're very thrilled that David Hockman and the Business Incubator Association of New York State has chosen Buffalo and the Center of Excellence to be its location or venue tomorrow for their annual meeting. So we're all really happy for GPS technology because we've certainly been taking you all around town these days. But again, another opportunity to connect up on these very exciting funding programs. So we close the session with our co-host, Jeff Lawrence. Jeff, I'd like to welcome you to say a few remarks.
Thanks, Marnie. My remarks will be really brief because the only thing standing between you and your opportunity to pitch in the money is me. So we couldn't be more pleased to be part of this collaboration with Bright Buffalo and Marnie in the corner over there. Thank you. And Unitech, Dr. Bob Janko. Bob, can you stand up for a second? And thank you. So far, I think this has been really good. What do you think? Yeah, great. So I'm looking forward to a tremendous day. On behalf of Laura and Elena and the rest of CEG, thanks again to all of our sponsors for their support and to all of you for joining us here today. I can't wait to hear from you, and good luck. Thanks.
Little inspirational piece as we head into the company sessions. You roll the video.
I can go for broke on this. I can give it everything I got. I can work long hours. I worked 18 months without a salary.
There is never a down day with an entrepreneur. They are always excited and optimistic about what tomorrow may bring.
What we're doing with Ladybug and the underlying social impact is one of those things I think that is the ultimate thing that keeps me motivated.
In the last 30 years in the United States, all net new job creation came from companies 5 years old or less.
We've matured from just a company spin out focusing on 1 or 2 technologies from the university to having over half a dozen technologies that we've internally patented.
RAND's portfolio companies, and we've invested in 30 portfolio companies, a majority of which are in New York State, have increased their revenues over $200 million since the time of RAND's investments.
One thing I get out of it is a tremendous feeling like I'm helping the region.
The environment, I would say, for managers and for startups has grown dramatically over the past 5 years. Now we have things like workforce improvement boards that help with staffing as well as train employees.
Let's advance businesses and grow them and create jobs, but let's also make sure we have an environment that's nurturing as we go forward.
I think things like the venture forum are critical to building awareness, building the networks, building the perception among entrepreneurs that deals can be done.
The relationship that we've established and the sponsorship that we provide for this particular forum is our way of contributing to this endeavor.
You bring the ideas into one place, you bring the investors into one place, and you bring the growth opportunities into one place, and it is almost explosive.
It's a very supportive environment, wealth of people with great knowledge and experience and willing to share that.
These are the places where our friends, our family, our children will work as we go down the road.
It has a direct, meaningful impact. There's no doubt about it. And there's money to be made.